we spent it all in one go. We spent all our money on going to Nashville.
That's mad.
And we just booked the tickets. We gave ourselves a year. So we booked them a year in advance. Each, I think, nearly a year. And then we were like, right, well, we better plan it. But we didn't know anyone.
Welcome to Creative Catalyst, the show that will help inspire you through conversation with creative people telling their stories and how it shaped their career. I'm your host, Chris Campbell, and today's guest is a singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and one half of critically acclaimed duo Rosie Jones, whose debut album gained a Song of the Year nomination at the UK Americana Awards. This success led to them performing at London's historic Hackney Empire with Ethan Johns alongside Robert Plant and Mumford and Sons. Her name is Rosie Jones, and in today's episode we talk about motivation to pursue music, finding your voice as a duo, and living in Nashville for 3 months to record their debut album. If you want to find Rosie on her social media accounts, they are at Rosie Jones on Instagram and Rosie Jones spelled backwards on Instagram. Rosie, how would you describe what you do to someone who's never heard your music before or knew that you were a musician?
It's really hard to describe your own music. I guess I'd just say I play guitar, sing, and write songs.
Nice. And has that always been...
I'm genreless.
I am but limitless in what I do. Would you say that that's how you've always described yourself from a very early age, or did it change?
Yeah, I mean, I went through phases of being like very vehemently like I'm country, to being like folk, Americana, indie folk, all of those terms. But I think sometimes that can put you in a bit of a box. So, you know, right now I don't know what kind of genre my next project will be. So it's just going to be, but at the heart it will be me playing guitar and writing songs.
Nice, that's cool. So I guess the way I've started most of these off is by asking if you have a quote that you really like, and we can chat about that. So what is your quote?
For
Rosie,
the listener, Chris, just before we press record, Chris was like, oh, quickly, you need a quote. So here's one I prepared earlier. Yeah, I mean, it's cheesy, but I always liked the quote, which is country music is 3 chords and the truth. Because I love the simplicity of that. And, you know, growing up, I loved punk music. I loved, like, rock and punk. And then I got really into country. And for me, like, I always used to say that those 2 genres felt similar in the ethos to me, because it is like the music is quite simple and it's very accessible to somebody who's new to playing music. That's why, you know, the greatest songs, I think, are the songs that you learn when you first learn guitar and they only have 3 chords, because they're very accessible. And also there's just like a raw honesty in both punk music and in country music. So for me, that quote, it works for all genres.
Nice. So that's interesting that you find that. Did you have songs you liked and then you learned to play instruments to match that? Or was it you learned to play instruments and then you just fell into these songs where they were so simple that it was the first thing you learnt, and then you were like, actually, these are really cool tunes as well?
A bit of both, but for me, you know, when I first started playing guitar, I originally started playing guitar because I played clarinet growing up. That was my main instrument. Just somehow fell into playing that, but it was never really I was never looking at all these amazing clarinet players and being like, I want to be that guy or that, you know, that girl.
Yeah,
It was just, you know, how people came around to my school and said, what instrument do you want to play? That's what I remember. And I remember I wanted to play clarinet. I don't know why. I don't remember why. And then they said that I was too young and that my teeth weren't developed enough to do the embouchure, which is.
And at that point, your dreams were shattered.
No, I was at that point. It made it like that put the fire in my belly.
Oh, really?
You know? I think of all the periods in my life where someone has told me I couldn't do something, that's really like pushed me to be like, you know what, I didn't want to do it, but now I do. So that's what pushed me to learn clarinet, because I was like, I'm going to kind of prove you wrong.
Yeah.
So I grew up playing clarinet, and I played clarinet in the school jazz band. And there was these 2 guys who played guitar. They played electric guitar, and they sat at the back. And I just thought, I looked down at my clarinet in disgust. And I was like,
this?
what am I doing? And I just thought they seemed so cool, and it was such a cool instrument. And so I started playing guitar, but I started playing guitar with this like old classical guitar, which was like my mum's guitar when she was a kid.
Right.
And it wasn't quite the same vibe as the guys playing their electric guitars at the back of the band.
Yeah.
So I started off learning the classic things that you start with, like Wonderwall and, Smoke on the Water and all those, the first three songs that you learn on guitar.
What tunes?
But I wasn't that inspired by it. And then I discovered a musician called Michelle Branch.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard of her.
I haven't heard of Michelle Branch.
So she was 17 and I was probably 12 around this time. So we weren't that different in age. And she played guitar, like she played a blue acoustic guitar, a blue Taylor guitar, which was my dream. And she wrote her own songs and she sang, and she was a young girl, and I'd just never seen that before. That blew my mind, I grew up listening to Britney Spears and the Spice Girls and a lot of great pop music that I still love now, but there was no one who was a real musician. And I was a musician, but I was a clarinet player. But I love singing, so all the first songs that I really learned on the guitar were Michelle Branch songs. And then I started to play gigs, and I would play like a 3-song set, and they'd all be Michelle Branch songs. and then I started writing my own songs. So.
Would you say that at the start you were kind of like a tribute act for her?
Yeah, kind of, in a way. And I would rope my friends in to sing harmonies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But, and then I kind of had the same thing with Vanessa Carlton and piano. So alongside learning guitar, I was learning piano. So I'd play a Vanessa Carlton song on the piano, and then I'd play a couple of Michelle Branch tunes. And then slowly I would start to incorporate my own songs into the set until there was more of Rosie Jones songs than there were Michelle Branch songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was a huge, she came out just at the perfect time for me.
Yeah, I always find that there's always those musicians where you can really identify with them, either by your age or just by like the way they feel is very identifiable. I think how you're feeling.
Yeah, representation is such a huge thing, especially for like young girls, because around that time it was all like Britpop and guys playing guitar. You would never see a girl playing guitar. And even like throughout my professional guitar playing life, you still get people saying, "Oh, it's great to see a girl who can play guitar." And it's such a backhanded compliment, isn't it? It's like,
thanks.
Is that like you're great at guitar despite being a girl? I'm like, thank you, but you can leave that compliment at the door next time.
That's so interesting. And did you find that with music, I know that piano and guitar were your two things. Did you have someone playing the piano? Oh, you were saying someone who played the piano was your idol as well?
Yeah, Vanessa Carlton, yeah.
Yeah, and did you perform in the same way that you did with your guitar, your piano? Or was that more you did that at home?
I performed a bit on piano, but I didn't have a keyboard.
Right.
We always had a piano in the house growing up, so that's always been the struggle at gigs, is like you only really play a bit of piano if there's a piano at the show.
Of course.
So no, I did enjoy the piano, but definitely it was more guitar was my instrument, and still is.
Yeah, that's still. Or you would still say that that's your main one.
Yeah, as I've played a lot of instruments, but I always come back to the guitar.
That's the one.
Yeah.
What is it with the guitar that you find? Because I've seen you play lots of different instruments, and why do you feel like you gravitate back towards the guitar?
I don't know really whether you can define that. It's just how it feels most natural.
Yeah.
And I guess my favorite, I think guitar is more versatile. Like, I think you can listen to a guitar and vocal song and appreciate it. It's just a song. Whereas a piano and vocal song for me feels more like a piano song.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
No, I get that.
And I think you can, I don't know. I can listen to a whole album of someone singing and playing acoustic guitar over and over and over and over and over. Whereas more with piano, it might be like, that's a lot of piano.
It's like, oh, I need to take a break and listen to a different instrument. It's
but I don't know. That's just my personal preference, I guess.
That's cool. But you
But
find
for me, guitar feels more versatile.
And you feel like you fit that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got the same with drums, where it's just like,
Yeah.
I nearly played the violin.
Yeah.
It was year 4.
Oh.
Kind of like the same with I think year 2 and year 3 is where you
Yeah.
have like, you're going to play the recorder for a bit, then do you want to choose the trumpet? Is the trumpet your vibe? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm 8. And it's, but I think with drums, as soon as I start playing the drums, it just like fit.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever not.
How old were you when you started playing drums?
9? 8 or 9. Yeah.
So that's good. So I'm a firm believer that violin and drums, you really have to start them very young. For 2 reasons. Here's my 2 reasons. One is
Lay
that
them out. Paint the picture.
they're both instruments that you can't be an amateur at when you live in a flat.
Yes. Oh, that's
right?
so true.
So you can't be like, right, I'm 30, I'm going to start playing the drums. Like it's never too late if you live in a place where that's not going to be a problem. But you can pick up an acoustic guitar, right, and you can strum away and you can practice chords and you can practice scales throughout the night.
Yeah.
But you can't be shit at drums. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
You're allowed to swear on this podcast.
And you can't be shit at violin because it sounds terrible. It sounds terrible for years.
Yeah.
Whereas you can knock out a few chords on the guitar and just about get by.
Well, naturally, the 3 chords happen so much at parties or around the
Yeah,
fire.
yeah.
And that person who knows the 3 chords can get it done.
Everyone still hates that person, but
deep down, we're all not happy about it.
and the other thing is, I think saying it's never too late. I do feel like the best drummers are the ones that learnt from a really young age because the rhythm is kind of in you.
Yeah.
And that's maybe slightly harder to learn later on. I don't know.
It'd be interesting. I wonder if anyone's likened it to learning a language. Like when you're around it as a kid and you're always around it, do you pick it up way more than when you're an adult? And it's essentially, you are learning scales, you're learning chord progressions, and that's similar to learning a language and the idiosyncrasies that go with that.
I don't know. I've never learned a language.
Have you not?
Only American English.
That's it. I've learned the spelling of mum in MOM in the US, and I always did that because I'm half American.
Yeah.
And so my mum would naturally spell it.
We could do this whole interview in American.
That's it. Oh, it's a big day. But I just remember at school people being like, "You're spelling it wrong. It's MUM," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" My mum has always spelled it MOM. And then I found out that it was the American spelling. Yeah. And my world was shattered.
Oh yeah. There are some great words. I learned a lot of funny Americanisms.
Yeah.
When I was living over there.
With your journeys, yeah. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Oof.
But I think that what's interesting is from the beginning you were a performer.
Yes and no, yes. When's the beginning?
When's the beginning? Okay, I'd say so I define the beginning as when you first got up on stage. And
from when I first got up on stage, I was a performer.
But would you say you were a performer with regards to you would get up on stage and you wanted to showcase that music?
Right, yeah.
Or would you say it was kind of like, because I know a lot of people get so nervous on stage that they don't want to, they're kind of doing it, but they're not.
See, So I'm really funny because I'm so shy. I've always been so shy. I was such a shy kid. And I don't think I really performed that much as a kid. I used to put on plays with my cousin. So my cousin B, she's super into theatre. She's like my best friend. We used to put on plays that she would write when we were kids. So we would perform in front of our family. Nice. And I don't think I was shy in front of my family, but outside of that, I was very, very, very shy. And I didn't do any school plays or anything when I was young. But also, I didn't really get the opportunity because my brother, who's 2 years older than me, was really naughty in school.
Right.
And the teachers hated him. And so I was living always in the shadow of being Duncan's sister.
Right.
So I always found that the kids who got the starring roles were the well-behaved kids. And I was well-behaved, but I was Duncan's sister. Yeah. And so I remember wanting to be in we did a school musical once. And we didn't do that much in our school. It wasn't a great musical program. My mum was the recorder teacher.
Right.
She was great. But yeah, there wasn't that many. A lot of kids say, oh, we did this musical and that musical and that musical. And so we didn't really have that. But I remember that we did one musical and I asked to sing one of the leading parts and they told me no.
Really?
No. And the person that they picked really couldn't sing. But they were a good, they were a teacher's pet kind of thing. I'm not bitter about it.
I was just about to say, I feel like we're bringing up some deep-seated childhood stuff now.
So I didn't, so
Tiffany
I didn't
did
really
not deserve that role.
Yeah, but I did, so I wasn't given those opportunities, but I created opportunities.
Right.
So I formed a Spice Girls club with my friends.
Spice Girls Club?
Yeah. And we used to practice every lunchtime. And then we'd go and perform in the classrooms.
No way.
And we basically just sing Spice Girls songs with the dance routines until they forced us to stop. And so I can't remember. The question was, how early did I perform? Yeah, so I was performing Spice Girls songs, but it wasn't until I was maybe 12, 13 that I started playing gigs.
Right.
That's when I had the guitar and I really had a way of playing a gig by playing guitar and singing.
And how did you get into those? Did you have someone who you were mentored by and they got you those gigs, or was it like there was just a local place that you could go and perform if you wanted to? What did that journey look like to start? So if some people are listening and they want to know where they could start, and I know yours is unique because you were 12 when it started, but what did that look like? I
had a singing teacher. So I had singing lessons, and then I think some of my first gigs were like showcases of all her students. So that would be like a couple of songs in a pub kind of vibe. And I performed a lot in pubs that I wasn't old enough to be in.
No.
So it was like, you can perform and then you have to leave. And my parents were great. Like my dad would drive me to all the gigs and be my dad's always been in the music industry. He's a lighting designer, but he spent his life and career touring. So he's very up for, being my tech support, my tour manager. So I would do those kind of showcases, but also we had a local art centre where there was a couple of programs. There was like form a band program, a songwriting program, and there was just a lot of like youth stuff that somehow I found, or my parents found. My parents were really involved, so they would take me to all these things. So I was really lucky, but it was a lot of extracurricular stuff. I didn't really do much in school at all. I don't feel like I was supported well, like musically at school.
Yeah.
Until much later. Yeah.
That's interesting. So you had to bridge out to further afield.
Yeah. So finding places to go, like youth groups and youth centres, and Saturday things and open mics at local pubs, stuff like that. Open mic nights, any chance to perform basically in front of an audience. So you're always on that. Yeah. And it sounds like your parents were very musical themselves, or your mum was a recorder teacher. Your dad was in the lighting stuff. Like, were they quite influential from the very beginning? Yeah. With regards to you getting into music, was it like it was always going to happen? Or? Yeah, they I had piano lessons I had music lessons from about the age of 3. Right. My mum said that, but that was very like walking up and down stairs in time sort of thing. Yeah. This is what I mean about, being taught rhythm from an early age. I don't remember learning how to read music. I must have learned it at the same time as I learned to read. Yeah. Like you don't remember learning to read. I don't remember learning to read music. Interesting. I mean, apart from when I was older and I was doing music theory, but I have sort of flashes of early piano lessons when I was really young. And I think piano is a great instrument to be a first instrument, just because it's like coordination, because it's 2 hands, and also reading music, which I think is really important. But then I rebelled and started playing guitar. So I rebelled from the piano and the clarinet, but I rebelled with music. Yeah. So because my brother was the same, like he was given all the same opportunities. And he played saxophone. Yeah. And he did his GCSE music, and he did well. He got an A. But after his GCSE, he was like, "That's it. I've had enough. You're done." So it kind of like, this is how I, when I have kids, because I really want them to be musical, it's really that fine line of giving them all the opportunities and like a gentle push, but without pushing them so much that they're like, you push them away from it.
It's what they see as that's the way, because naturally kids will look at what they can push back from.
Yeah.
And is it something like that which then I think you might regret as an adult, like I wish I did keep up with my drums or my art. Or my
exactly. But maybe people just naturally, if you love it, you latch onto it or you don't.
Yeah.
So I did push away from the having to practice my clarinet every week, but I pushed away by playing guitar and writing songs. So, but yeah, they gave me a huge lot of opportunities.
I guess that moved into you looking at, was when you were doing all these gigs, were you thinking I want to be a musician as my job?
Oh yeah.
Was that always the vision?
So from the age of probably 7 or 8, I was like, I'm going to be a famous pop star.
Nice.
From the Spice Girls onwards.
Right.
I'm going to be a famous pop star.
That was it.
I thought I was going to be a child star. I thought it was going to be like 10, I'm there, you know?
You'd hit the peak.
Yeah.
And
because I was listening to, the Spice Girls are a bit older, but I was listening to, Aaron Carter, and this is some of my hot influences, and Hanson, and all of these bands that were children.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's going to be me.
It's going to work.
I'm going to be a famous child.
Yeah. Did you feel like
I wasn't.
Just so you know, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
But did you feel that really pushed you? And then when did you start really... Did you get paid for gigs from a young age, or did you really start getting paid when you got a little bit older, like 16, 17?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Or even then, were you being paid?
I don't think you really
mostly...
care about it then. No, I wasn't getting paid at all. I mean, and then throughout uni, you're just doing gigs in front of... It's all about... Up until a point, it was all about just getting opportunities to play.
Yeah, of course.
And then at some point, you have to reach that tipping point of, okay, now I'm actually worth something. Which wasn't until after I left uni.
What did you do at uni just before we go on to
I did music.
Uni? You did music at uni?
Yeah.
And was that was all on your journey? So at that point, were you still like, the music industry is where I want to be, it's what I want to be doing?
Yeah. I've never wanted to do anything else other than music.
Very cool.
Yeah, never. I applied for one university.
Really? Where did you go?
I went to Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts.
My friend's just gone up there to do sound design. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Very cool. So
we always the first piece of advice I was given is make friends with the sound engineers.
Yeah. That's.
We'll talk about why.
Up there.
Talk about why.
Yeah. So with that, did you find being at LIPA and being around such musical people that was really useful? Did you make a lot of contacts that you still use now, or was it more just around creative people, which was awesome?
Yeah, no, it was so useful, and it's still paying back now. I still bump into people that went to LIPA, and they're kind of spread out throughout the industry. So at LIPA they do sort of every facet of performing arts in the industry. So you said your friend's doing sound. Is it called sound design? It used to be like sound engineering.
Sound engineering. I think it's sound engineering.
Yeah. So there was sound engineering. So there's people that record the music. There was musicians. There was two sides to music. There was music, which was like instrumentalists and vocals. I studied vocals. And then there was like the performing arts music side, which is more musical theatre. Yeah. And then there was acting, dancing, theatre design, theatre tech. And so basically every aspect of like putting on a show, there was a course for it. And yeah, now they're all spread out throughout the industry. So, you know, somebody's putting on a festival, and somebody's doing the sound, and somebody's doing this, and somebody's doing video. And I still have these people on Facebook, and we use each other.
Do you? So it does feel
it's
like that
it's like a community and network that will exist for a long time. Yeah.
Where are places you've met other? Because I guess apart from uni, if someone wanted to get into it like now and they didn't go to uni, like where are other places you've like maybe unsuspectedly met people who are in the industry? Like, are there certain pubs you go to? Is it, or is it just research and you find them online?
For me, the Americana community. So when we started, so I'm in a band called Worry Dolls, who I've been, that's been my project for the last nearly 10 years. And we started off more folk, and then we went and we found Americana, which was, it's a melting pot of lots of different genres, country, folk, blues, soul, etc. And it's kind of intrinsically a home for people that don't fit neatly inside other genre boxes. Like countries can be very, very commercial, and folk is its own thing, and that's very. Folk can be a very open genre, but it can also feel very closed and a little bit. Some people are a little bit purist, let's say.
Yeah.
When it comes to folk, and I was never a traditional folk musician.
Yeah.
I don't have that background. I don't have the historical knowledge of all of the trad folk stuff. And Americana, we kind of found a home there, and there's a community of people, and it really does feel like a family. And so that opened up a whole new. It was almost like the post-uni family. It was the same thing. You've always got people that you can pull on. You have a pool of musicians. You have a pool of people that make videos, tour managers, all sorts. So that was kind of like a second little bubble.
And with that whole bubble bursting, which is what we're going to chat about with regards to like everything that came from Worry Dolls, like you met your counterpart, your other person from
at Lipper, at uni.
And did you kind of think that you saying you wanted to work together would end up being what it's been, like all the journey you've gone on, and the places you performed? Like, did you imagine that when that started?
No. So I always loved doing music with other people.
Yeah.
So even though I was a solo artist, I would always rope in a friend. So partly because I love singing harmonies. So I always love singing with somebody else. Singing harmonies is the one thing you can't do on your own.
Yeah.
Unless you have one of those vocal pedals, but it's not the same. So I would always get like my best friend or my cousin or a friend at school, whoever, to sing with me, to perform with me.
Yeah.
And then when I went to uni, I was on my own. And I played an open mic night in the first week. And Zoe played the same open mic. And she's got red hair like me. And she was playing guitar and singing like me. And she was singing kind of folky songs. And all the friends that I'd ever roped into playing with me, they'd never really have the same passion for like folk and country as I did. So they were willing, but they were.
It's not what they had on their own headphones.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good way of putting it. So I approached Zoe at this open mic and was like, "Hey, I think we could do something together. It seems like we might have some similar influences." And she was like, "Yeah," and it never didn't happen for like a year.
Why was that? Was it just first year?
The way that she tells it is that she was kind of scared of me because she was very sweet, finger picking and playing a folk song, and I sang. I took my driving test just before I went to uni,
right?
And I failed. I lived in Devon, and I took the test in Devon, and I failed because he asked me to turn down this lane, this small country lane, and there was a guy walking his dog down the lane. And the guy kind of squidged into the hedge for me, and he squidged his dog into the hedge, and we went past. And that's why I failed, because the driving instructor said I should have seen the guy and not gone down there. So I played a cover of Martha Wainwright's "Bloody Motherfucking Arsehole."
Right.
And I dedicated it to my driving test instructor. And so I was up there, and at that point I was probably way more punk rock than I am now.
Right.
I've toned down a bit now, but it was a very sort of angsty, sweary performance. And also at that age, I used to perform drunk a lot, because most of the gigs that I played were like punk uni parties. All my friends were in punk bands, and it would be like bars and people's 18th birthdays.
Yeah.
And so all my friends would be drinking, and I would be drinking because I was, there at a party, but I was also performing. So they weren't really professional gigs. Whereas Zoe was doing more like restaurants in Tunbridge Wells. When it's not more of a sober affair.
Yes.
With candles and seats. Now I'm like, I love those kind of gigs because I love a listening audience. And but back then I was a lot more kind of rock and roll.
It was part of the whole experience that it was,
So I think she was a bit like, whew, taken aback.
Yeah.
And but then in second year of uni, I was like, do you want to start a Nickel Creek tribute band? And we had to do an ensemble project, basically form a band. And I was really into Oh Brother Where Art Thou, that whole soundtrack, Alison Krauss, and a lot of bluegrass and Gillian Welsh and Nickel Creek, and I just got a mandolin. So I was like, I want to do these songs, and I want to do 4 or 5 part harmonies, and so that was the first project that we did together.
Cool.
And then when we left uni, we formed. So I used to sing in her solo stuff. She used to sing in my solo stuff. We did a lot of projects and open mics and stuff together. But when we left uni, and it was this void of what the hell do we do now?
Yeah.
We joined forces and became Worry Dolls, and then a lot of years of touring and adventures after that.
Yeah. And did you find that when you first performed together, or when you first started working together, that it just clicked?
Yeah, I think so. We definitely worked on our harmonies.
Yeah.
And we really had to work on what we were as a duo, because we were both solo artists. So at first we were kind of like, I would sing a verse, she would sing a verse, then we'd do a bit of harmony. And we had a manager. When we left uni. We were signed for about a year, and that didn't work out for either of us. But one thing that manager did do was he said the best part of your songs is when you sing together. Why don't you just do that all the time? And then there wasn't really any artists doing that. There was a lot of old country music, and duos like the Everly Brothers, and a lot of sibling duos where they did close harmony, but there wasn't really any modern artists doing that. And then, funnily enough, a few months after that, First Aid Kit come out, and then suddenly it's like everyone's a duo.
Everyone's doing the thing, yeah.
But it was quite new at the time and novel, and so we started just singing everything together. And then I think we found our voice, because our thing was always that our voices together were one voice, which was separate from our own individual voices, because our individual voices are very different.
Yeah. And
it's kind of, a lot of people are surprised that we sound so good together, because we have very different voices. But hers is she definitely has a higher voice, and I have a lower voice, so we kind of found our space.
It fits really nicely together.
Yeah.
And from going to your gig recently, I totally agree with that. It just kind of, you don't really notice that they're separate voices. It just feels like one entity is saying the words.
Yeah, which is what we wanted. And then as the years went on, and we were much, we toured together and sang together a lot more, we would start to then, instead of writing a song and then adding the harmonies, we would then just write in harmony.
Right.
And kind of think in harmony, and we would sing in harmony naturally, rather than working out the harmony, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So your career with Worry Dolls, which is a very exciting one, especially in the last couple of years, as you told me about. Where did it start? Did you were you at kind of ground zero, or you had your manager? Did you just start playing gigs all over the UK, or was it you just went to one place regularly and started playing gigs, or what did that look like?
Yeah, so while we were with the management wouldn't let us do any gigs.
Oh.
Which was really weird for both of us, because we'd both been gigging for years as solo artists, and that was, I always, the way that I would figure out songs is that I would write them and I would start gigging them, and then they would evolve into something greater, and then I would record them.
Yeah.
When we were doing this the other way around, we were writing songs and demoing them straight away, and then not performing them live. And then our manager was just pushing us to write more and evolve our songwriting, which was probably in some ways a good thing, but it didn't work for us, because playing live was such a huge part of what we did.
Yeah.
So it was holding us back in a lot of ways as well. So after the management ended, we moved to London, we just started gigging 4 nights a week in London. There was this collective called Folk Room, who are still around, actually. They're still putting on gigs at the Harrison.
Yeah.
in King's Cross, which is, I don't know if you've ever been there. Yeah. A really cute little basement venue in King's Cross. Probably about the size of this living room.
Yeah, I was going to
actually.
say, like, it's not a big space.
Yeah, but it's such an
intimate.
It's an intimate space.
That's the word.
And it's really great for yeah, exactly, because those gigs are totally unplugged.
Yeah.
Which is really, how you kind of what's the phrase? Cut your teeth.
That's it. That's the one.
So we did a lot of gigs with Folk Room, and that introduced us to a whole collective of artists. We just used to do so many gigs together, and just we had so many instruments. I would play glockenspiel and mandolin and guitar and banjolele, and I had to strap them all together and carry them on the tube. We did everything on the tube. But yeah, we were gigging and this was probably still in this days of MySpace, which ages me a bit, but it was on probably the tail end of MySpace.
Right.
We had a MySpace and we had a SoundCloud, and we'd message people and people would message us, and it happened very organically, but we were gigging all the time for free.
Yeah.
We weren't getting paid.
With regards to you just talking about like SoundCloud and MySpace, were you kind of the first in the folk genre, or in
yeah,
in
was the
area?
pioneer.
But no, as in like in that space, were you one of the early adopters of using social media to reach out to people? Did you feel like not everyone was doing that, or was that kind of you all were doing it in London, and so it just naturally you started doing it as well?
I was probably an early adopter of MySpace as like a personal user, because I've always been very into technology. My dad got me a computer very, very young, and so that helped with my songwriting, because I was recording on Cubase when I was like 8 or 9, or maybe a bit older. But
I was going to say, damn.
Damn, no, that was my Top of the Pops Mix Factory stage.
Of course.
But I was pretty young, maybe an early teenager. Anyway. So I was into technology, but I wouldn't say that everyone was using it. Yeah.
That was just naturally.
I wasn't, like Kate Nash or
nah,
whoever, or Lily Allen.
So you were gigging in pubs 4 days a week, or not in pubs. You were gigging in venues 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Just trying to get your music out there. And were you building a following from that, or was it kind of you were just meeting new people who you wanted to collaborate with, or was it people came to listen to your music?
Yeah, we were building a following of both like musicians and songwriters. So the Folk Room Collective was kind of growing and growing. It was a lot of artists, but also a lot of fans as well. And the gigs were always pretty packed. And I don't think it's quite like that anymore, because people just aren't going to gigs as much. Little smaller gigs, I don't think. And a lot of those venues are suffering, which is really sad. But we were starting to build a following. And then at some point, we got contacted by an agent, Midnight Mango, who we're still with to this day.
Nice.
And they started booking us proper paid shows.
Oh, cool.
And then we did tours and started having somebody, because we got to that point where we started having to ask for money, because we were like, you know what, we're worth something.
Yeah.
We're going to put a price on ourselves. Which I think is important, because it puts value on your art. I think you only should play to exposure to a point until you say, look, no, you need to pay us. When they're gaining more than you're gaining from the show, definitely. But it was really helpful having an agent. That was a huge turning point, because people would say, well, how much do you want to get paid? And we'd be like, I don't know. We'll just, £50?
Like a number?
I remember the first time we asked to get paid £200, and we were shitting ourselves, because we were like, is this? Are we going to scare them away? They were like, we would like £200, please. And the woman was like, yeah, sure. And we're like, damn it!
I was like, oh my god! I always find that.
Damn it! I mean 500. I mean 1,000.
2,000.
But one thing we did, which I highly recommend, and everyone does it, is to be your own agent.
Right. You told me about this.
Yeah. So before we had an agent, we had an agent called Natasha.
Right.
Which is Zoe's middle name.
Nice.
and Natasha would sort out the finance side of things.
I like it.
And she'd be like, the girls can do it, but for a price.
Was that over the phone or was that all email based or?
Yeah, mostly email, but yeah, I think there was one awkward phone call.
Well, did Zoe put on a Natasha voice or did you?
No. Yeah, I think there was one point where we were going to get paid and they said, should we make it out to you? And we were like, no, make it out. make it out to the girls. Make it out to the girls. But the point is that, and I actually found this, even transitioning from being a solo artist to being a duo, when you can rave about something that you're a part of that isn't you, like I can't say, you know what, you should book me because I am fucking incredible. Yeah. I will put on the best show. Your audience are going to love it. You need to pay me £1,000, but I'm worth it. Yeah. That's a difficult skill to have. But to say, I would email festivals and be like, I've got a great band for you. They're absolutely blowing up in the London folk scene, and I think they'd be amazing. This is the fee. That's so much easier. Yeah. And you get better at it, throughout your career. But if you can say, my name's, Tasha, and I'm Warrior Doll's agent. But anyway, that was a very, very short period of time, and then we did get a real agent. Get a real one. Just to clarify, our agent now is real.
Yeah. It is not another.
But you know what? A lot of people do it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
It's just another form of communication.
If it helps you with your confidence and being able to actually sell, because British people are terrible at selling themselves.
Yeah. I guess.
And maybe we need to work on that, but this is a stepping stone.
It's talking about yourself in the third person.
Yeah.
So it isn't you going like me. It's like they generally are really great. But that's what you hear when you perform. Like people come up to you afterwards and they say, you are like, I've really enjoyed today.
Yeah. But you're in a band, right? And you can probably much more easily talk about the band. The band, we're this band, we're that band, than yourself. Like me saying like, so Rosie, how would you, describe your music? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I sing songs. Just listen to me.
just listen to it.
It's harder to say, I am incredible.
Yeah. That's so true.
I'm going to blow your mind.
Just watch me.
Just watch me.
That's so interesting. Yeah. And then when, do you say it was Mango?
Midnight Mango.
Midnight Mango.
Who've been just amazing for us. Yeah. They're based in Somerset. So they have a lot of connections with festivals and a lot of the more kind of folk and rootsy side of things as well. But they really, I mean, there was a couple of years where we were doing like 16 festivals throughout the summer or even more. And then, 3 months of touring, and it was great.
With regards to, because I know festivals and touring, there are some massive highlights there. If you could pick 2 or 3 like events that happened with Warrior Dolls that you think defined you as maybe as an artist, but also is something you'll never forget.
Yeah.
What would they be? And
I can think of 3 immediately.
Really?
Yeah.
That's ideal.
Number 1, we were nominated for an Americana Award for Song of the Year for our song Endless Road, and we performed at the awards show. So this is the year before last. Yeah, the year before last. And we performed, and the house band was Ethan Johns. I don't know, you're looking at me slightly blankly.
I don't know Ethan Johns.
So Ethan Johns.
I'm so sorry.
So Ethan Johns produced most of Ryan Adams' records,
as
well as like Kings of Leon and loads, Rayla Montaigne, loads of really incredible
big artists.
Very, very known for capturing sort of raw, authentic performances.
Yeah.
And also his dad, Glenn Johns, produced, I don't know if you've heard of them, but the Rolling Stones. He worked with, I think, the Beatles.
The Rolling Stones?
I don't know, a bit more niche, but...
Yeah. Less than most know about them, yeah.
So Ethan Johns, he also did a lot of Laura Marling's material. So
wow, so they big hitters.
Yeah, and so he was always my, Ryan Adams, I feel a bit weird talking about him now in the current climate, but Ryan Adams' album Heartbreaker was like, if I ever create an album that sounds like that, I can just die happy, you know, because it was just an album that was mostly guitar, vocal, and harmonica, but it's just perfect in every way.
Yeah.
So he is one of my absolute, if I can work with Ethan Johns, you know. And so he played guitar with us on stage, and that was one thing. And then at the end, all the artists sang together, and so we sang on the same mic as Robert Plant, who was getting the Lifetime Achievement Award, and Mumford and Sons were on the same stage, and they're a huge influence as well. So it was literally, when I was a kid, I don't know if you had these dreams. Did you ever have a dream when like you got to meet your heroes?
Yeah.
Oh, my dreams would be that like my heroes would like come to my school, be a new student at my school. You know?
That was the dream.
Yeah, that was a dream. But it was like one of those dreams, you know, where it's just, I can't, if there wasn't photos, I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
So singing on the same mic as Robert Plant and performing with Ethan Johns.
And that with regards to that,
yeah.
How long had you guys been working together as a duo before that happened? Because that's huge.
Yeah, I mean,
like, do you reflect on that and be like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened?
Yeah.
And something you, as we've said, you're probably never going to forget ever.
It was our debut album, which sounds like, you know, we'd been together for a year. So technically, we put out the album and it was the year afterwards. But before that, we sang with each other, and then we formed Warrior Dolls, and then we were gigging on the London scene, but we didn't really start doing it properly until we brought out, until probably about 2013.
Right.
Which is like 7 years ago. So a good 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they always say that like an overnight success has always got 20 years behind
them.
Yeah,
it's all in the background, which you just don't see any of that.
Yeah. But it was our debut album, so it seems like people always think, oh, it seems like, you know, they only just started, but there was definitely a lot of work and time that went into that.
Yeah.
So that was one. The other one is we got to play the main stage at Cambridge Folk Festival, which is 5,000 capacity, which is the biggest, most incredible show we've ever played. And that one came about, when we put out our album, we got a press team. We like paid for PR, and we did a press launch where we got a bunch of people from magazines and promoters and stuff came, and we played like a full band show, like 6 songs. And then this woman came up to us afterwards and was like, we were meeting everyone, we're shaking hands. You know, I couldn't tell you who I met because it was just crazy.
It was just, yeah.
But this woman was just like, just quickly, you know, I'm booking for a festival this year, and I think it'd be great for the main stage, doing a female-only main stage lineup. Would you like to come and play? And I was like, yeah, sure. Sorry, what festival was it again? She went, Cambridge. I went, what?
The televised one? That must have been.
So that was just like, yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
I still can't quite work out how that happened, but that was amazing.
But Cambridge Folk Festival is one of the, like, even people who are not in folk know about Cambridge Folk Festival.
Yeah, legendary. It's like the folk Glastonbury.
Yeah, no, legit. And like, I remember when I started my band, and one of our goals was to play at Cambridge Folk Festival.
The audience is just, and you played.
We got to fulfill that last year, which was amazing. But I asked for so much advice from you, because I was like, what did you do when you were there? And it was just to clarify, mine was a much smaller deal than what Rosie did. But what goes on behind the scenes is that we were asking every year to play Cambridge Folk Festival, and we were constantly told no. Yeah.
And then a new booker came on board. So it was the first year that she was booking, Bev, and she's just fucking cool. Yeah, she does not look like she books for Cambridge Folk Festival. No disrespect, but she's like this young, like, she's rock and roller. She's got like loads of tattoos, and like she's like covered in tattoos and has a leather jacket, and she looks like she would be. She also books. So she also books for Black Deer, which is an Americana festival, which is a little bit more like motorbikes and a little bit more rock and roll. But it was definitely a bold choice on behalf of Cambridge, and I think it was a great choice.
Yeah.
But it was great that she came on board. A lot of these things are just timing. Like, she came on board, and very soon after that, she saw us. She wanted to do a women-only day. Actually, I think it worked out being 2 days of women only on the main stage, which was amazing. And it just the stars aligned.
Yeah.
Basically. Those two things, and recording an album in Nashville and living out there for 3 months. They're my three main life highlights.
So how did Nashville come about? And why did you feel like Nashville had to happen? Because you've lived in the UK your whole life, am I right?
Yeah.
And then who came up with the idea, hey, why don't we go to Nashville to record this album? And like, who were you in contact with to make that a thing?
Well, so I loved country music, like grew up listening to the Dixie Chicks. And, you know, they have a song which is about like going to Nashville to make it, you know, and a lot of country is... a lot of songs are like, I went to Nashville. You know, it's like if you're an actor, you move to LA. It's like the mecca of songwriting, and especially country, but other genres as well. So I always wanted to go. And what I imagined in my I'm going to be a child star brain is that I would get how it happens in the movies. You get discovered and you get signed, and they fly you out to Nashville. That's kind of what I imagined happened. Yeah. And I remember when we got our first management deal, there was talks of, we'll take you to Nashville. You can go to Nashville and you can write some songs.
No way.
You can write with this person and that person. And, of course, it was all bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, it might not have been bullshit, but...
none of that actually came to fruition.
Yeah. It was a lot of, you know, trying to get you on your side sort of thing. It's like, of course, if you want to go to Nashville, you go to Nashville. And so after that dream kind of like was like, oh, okay, we're not going to be taken to Nashville. We just thought... let's just go. Let's just book. And we did 16 festivals in one summer. This is one piece of advice I would give, is that as soon as you start making money, put it away. Don't spend any of it.
Right.
Put it in an account and don't touch it. Only touch it for artistic purposes. So a lot of bands would get paid 100 quid for a gig and split it 4 ways, and it gets spent on beer and that's it. But and
then it's gone like that.
We didn't take a penny for years. Even if we got paid 20 quid for a gig, we would put that in a bank account.
Wow.
And we did 16 festivals, which some of them we got paid better than others, but even if it was 100 quid a festival, that's still a fair amount of money. We spent it all in one go. We spent all our money on going to Nashville.
That's mad.
And we just booked the tickets. We gave ourselves a year, so we booked them a year in advance. Ish, I think, nearly a year. And then we were like, right, well, we better plan it. But we didn't know anyone. And we emailed people. We watched sessions with Nashville songwriters, and we just emailed them and said, do you want to write with us? And
hello?
Weirdly enough, most of them said yes.
Which is so cool. And is that after you had the first album out, or was that to
No.
That
so
was to make the debut album, right?
Yeah. So we went out there on an initial 10-day trip. Mostly to do tourist stuff, to be honest, and just experience the place. But then we ended up writing loads of songs because we met people, and instead of going for coffee, you write a song. Yeah. And so we didn't intend to write an album. We were like, maybe we'll put out another EP. Because we thought an album is a big thing, right? Your first album, you don't want to just do a crap first album.
Yeah,
you know?
You want it to be a big deal, yeah.
So, but we ended up writing half an album, and we were just like, okay, we need to go back. We were both just completely obsessed, and we spent 4 months obsessive about it. Yeah. And then we went back and lived there for 3 months.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then we made the album. and the whole album is about that journey, so it was kind of self-fulfilling because we went out there having only written half of it, and we just knew that there wasn't a doubt in our mind that we wouldn't finish it within the month that we had before we booked the studio.
Yeah. And the album is called, if people
it's
want
called
to
Go Get Gone.
Go Get Gone.
And it's a line from one of the songs, but it's basically that message of, no, don't wait for somebody to sweep you off your feet. Just do it yourself. Go get gone.
Nice.
Get gone.
Now, I think that's such a cool thing to look back on.
Yeah.
Already, like you're not even you've done.
I'm not even 21.
Yeah. Like, you still got so much more time to keep pursuing your music and everything like that. Like, what those three big things happening? Are you still hungry for more stuff? Like, because I remember when I was dreaming about doing certain things, and like some of them I've done, some of them I still have goals for. Do you feel like there's still that hunger to go and perform more and do more stuff?
Definitely. Yeah.
These 10 years with Worry Dolls, if you could go back to Rosie Jones, coming out of university, thinking of setting up the duo, and you could give her some advice, because you actually probably stuff which people would have given it as advice, you did, which was saving all your money to give yourself that opportunity for Nashville that probably would have never happened if you hadn't put any single money you put away for that amount of time.
Yeah.
But what would you give as advice to her now from what you've learned over the last 10 years?
I think, the thing about you said about saving the money, I mean, there was a couple of things that were great about going to uni as well, is that we did have a good grounding of things that we knew we had to do, in terms of like music business sense and stuff like that, which was great. So we weren't going into it blind. But advice I'd give myself, I mean, one thing I would say is that I spent, and I don't regret it, but I spent a lot of years where music was just, I put so much into music that I ignored every aspect of my life, every other aspect of my life. And I think, I wasn't in a relationship for years because music was like my 100% sole focus. Yeah. And I think that, don't forget to live, because I think that life creates art, right? And it was great that, Zoe and I had the experience of Nashville and going out and living our dream, and that became the narrative and the subject of that album, which was amazing. But I think you need to have something to write about as well. So don't, like, the career is just one part of it, but you need to live too, and then you have something to write about.
Experiences, right?
Yeah, I need to have experiences. Yeah. So that's one thing. I don't know, really. Advice. Just, I think, don't. Know your own worth. So I said about playing gigs for opportunities and playing stuff for free, but also you need to be able to stand your ground and know how much you're worth, and not just do stuff for free, because we will still constantly get emails saying, we've got this great opportunity for you, there's no fee, but and being able to have the confidence and the power to be like, no, that because you can't just, it's taking the piss. And that's how you make a successful career, is that you actually put worth onto your art. So definitely knowing your own worth, and knowing when to say no. And knowing when to say yes as well, like staying open.
I think off of the no fee thing, or the working for free, if I look back at like the experiences we've had as in my band, one of the biggest things was we'd get paid for some gigs. So if someone did come along and say, this is a charity gig where we're trying to raise money for this thing, we could use some of the money that we made from that last gig to fund us.
Yeah, of course. And
playing that gig. Yeah,
and if it's a charity that you feel strongly about, I'm not saying don't play stuff for free, but also know that when, just know when to put your foot down.
100%.
And also, as you're climbing the ladder, a lot of people will help you along the way, and like, don't forget to look down and help others, because we got a lot of help and a lot of support like throughout our career. And so now if anyone asks me, like, you asked me to do this podcast, I'm not going to pay for this podcast, but I had a lot of opportunities when I was trying to work with people, and so I love to do stuff like this, and I love to, like, anything I can do to help other people who are trying to start projects, and like, that's my way of kind of paying it forward for all the people that helped me along the way. So like, looking down the ladder and helping others.
I think that's I think that harks back to the way it was when you started and you had that massive collective of
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
Who,
Yeah, because community is so important. So.
Yeah, and building that community, and you can be the catalyst for that community.
Yeah.
You can start that community and have people then start to be able to help each other up.
Yeah, and you go out there and meet people because you can't do it alone. Like you can't do anything alone.
Yeah, very true. I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned since coming to London is just by the reason why I started this podcast is because I just want to meet other creatives.
Great. And London's it can be such a tough, lonely city as well. So that's really important. That's great. Just
being open.
Yeah.
Well, Rosie Jones, thank you so much
for
coming today.
If anyone
I've talked
a lot of crap.
If anyone wants to listen to any of Rosie's music, you can hear Worry Dolls on any streaming service. But other social medias, she's got Worry Dolls on Facebook and on Instagram.
Yeah.
What's the specific tag on Instagram? Is it
it's
Worry
just
Dolls?
Worry Dolls. At Worry Dolls.
At Worry Dolls.
Yeah.
You got the domain and everything.
Yeah. worrydollsmusic.com. And I've just started my own Instagram actually because I also take photos. And a lot of people kept saying you need to make an Instagram for your photos. So I also have my own Instagram, which is Rosie Jones backwards.
Right. As in it says backwards at the end, or
no,
is it Rosie
in like
Jones?
It's Rosie Jones spelt backwards.
Oh wow!
I can't pronounce it. Rosie Jones was taken, so I just did it Rosie Jones backwards.
I like it.
It's something like I don't know.
I like it. Easy to find.
Yeah. Well, I don't like to be too easy to find.
I like to stay aloof.
It's my secret Instagram.
Rosie, thank you so much for coming on today.
You.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to the very end of this podcast. It really means a lot. If you have enjoyed it, please do leave a review and comment what you like about it wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps us out hugely. Our next episode will be out next Monday, so subscribe to get notified. And finally, if you could go to Instagram and follow Creative Catalyst Podcast, we will be sharing all the work from the creators we interview on there. So if you want to see what they've been up to, please go take a look at our Instagram account. Thank you very much.